Hello, Herm Gailey here. We're going to deal with something that is very unexciting today, or at least you always hope it's going to be unexciting, and that is how to warm your horse up. As I was getting ready to do the filming for today, I was starting the warm-up process, and full disclosure, I actually pretty much have this mare warmed up, so I'm going to break my rule of doing things in real time. She's probably going to just go through the routine, show you what it is, but there's not going to be a whole lot of up and down with her because she's been pretty good. Now, it'd be a gift if she wasn't. A lot of times this is the most neglected thing that we do or don't do with our horses, and that is get them warmed up before we start to put them to work. And that applies not just for arena riding, but for trail riding as well. Yesterday, my wife and I were down in the park near here. We haul down, even though it's close, because it's just handier. And this mare that my wife rides, it gets a little bit up when she's away from home. So she went through the beginning of this process in the parking lot there, which is flat, it's gravel, it's big. Nobody else was there at all. We got down real early. And it took that edge off, so you didn't deal with it out on the trail in the real world. You don't want to be dealing with warm-up issues when you're trying to accomplish training with your horse. You want to take care of them on the front end. I will tell you that a young lady that I helped out was here riding one day, and I watched her get her horse out, and after a bit I said, "Now tell me this. Looks to me like so far you've walked, trotted, and loped your horse, and turned her around both ways." She said, "Yep, that's what I've done so far." I said, "What have I done?" She stopped a minute. She said, "Nothing really. You're just walking your horse around and bending her." I said, "Exactly. All of that advanced work isn't warm-up. You start out with the most basic thing and give their body a time to warm up and check on their mind." Now, the same young lady qualified with that horse to go to the Pennsylvania State 4-H show. And when I called her before her class to check on how she was doing, I hadn't got there yet. She said, "Well, what I have to tell you is in the warm-up pen, I was the last one to lope." And that was something to be proud of, and I thought it was pretty cool that she was. So here is what I do when I'm warming my horse up. I'm going to move them forward. And really what this is a check of your three basics. I always look to see if I can just bend my horse around and I get relaxation. See, she actually speeded up a little. Now she's relaxed back down. You don't need to go the whole way to a stop. You certainly can. But what you want to do is go to the first relaxed place and then ride on. That way, you'll have access to that sooner, as opposed to always getting your horse to where they think if you bend them around, they're going to come down to a halt. They're going to start to require that. If you do it this way, you bend your horse, slowed and relaxed, so I release her. And I'm making a generally circular shape for our video purposes, but typically I would use the whole pen and I would go all over the place, not really guiding. Now, typically I would do that, half a dozen, maybe 8 times to the left. Then I would go to the right. I'm going to abbreviate that because this mare's already been through that this morning. So I'd bend her, see her coming down, see her head going down. There. I can wake her up, particularly this mare who was born in a hurry, whenever I need to. I just want to be able to access that reservoir of calmness that we build up so that I have it when I start working her and doing things that could be a little bit more mentally exciting. Then I'll just pick up and trot off. And if she was to go off at an excessive speed, I'd just bend her around. Now, what I did there was I bent her around until she hit that relaxed walk. But you also would be completely right, and maybe more right, if what you did was to bend your horse around, and if she relaxes at the trot, that's what you need. So there she relaxed, and I release her. I am not trying to collect her. I'm not trying to restrain her. I'm just keeping her going forward in a relaxed fashion. So typically, it would take me 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to get to this point. And I didn't do it to the left, so I'm going to trot her to the left. And she's going off maybe a little strong, not really, but we'll say she was. So I just bring her down until she relaxes and restart the process. Now she's going off real quiet. Oddly enough, I had to use a little leg on her, which is refreshing because that's not typical for her. Very, very good dressage trainer put on a clinic. His name was Carl McCulca. He had been a principal rider at the Spanish riding school back in the post-World War II era. Put on a clinic for a bunch of dressage folks locally. And at that time, I was riding with one of the trainers who went to his clinic. So I was invited to go, and I went. And all of these dressage folks, they were riding around like this. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, when they came in the pen, they were like this. And I realized at that moment, looking at these dressage ladies, that if there's two classes of people I wouldn't want to arm wrestle, it's blacksmiths and dressage ladies. Because, I mean, I saw more biceps that day than I thought existed in the world. So what Carl McCulca said was, okay, drop your reins down to the buckle and see what happens. Well, without exception, these horses just flat ran off. And he said, never start to collect your horse until you can ride them down and out. Down and out. Nose is a bit out, head's down, reins are down, no resistance, no acceleration. He said, if you're trying to deal with acceleration, you're dealing with restraint, not collection. That was 40 years ago, and I never forgot it. It was the one thing to take away from a clinic that I took away from that one. So, in most instances, I'd probably still be trotting around a bit, but I'll step her up, put her on a lope, and the same deal applies. Yes, for a lope, throw her away, see she's gaining a bit, I'm going to steer her. The steering slowed her a bit, gaining speed, I'm going to steer her. But she's a little bit up. Oop, that was graceful. So I'm going to bring her back down, and then we'll pick up the lope again. So what we're doing here is we're getting this horse to associate steering with settling down, to associate taking your hand to her mouth with being slow down and relaxed, not being restrained, not being stressed. But you can see, the faster you go, the higher the degree of difficulty, and this mare has a lot of forward. So it's taken a long time to get her to where you could lope her around without actually restraining her or checking her or breaking up her momentum. But see, there she goes. She's pokey. She's gaining some speed there, but when I steer her, she slows down. So I'll just relax my seat, let her stop. So those are the kind of dull and boring things that I do to get a horse physically loosened up. Probably before I ever move them off the spot, most times I'll do this. And if I get motion, I won't go past that point. See, probably should have done that at the very beginning, and I didn't. It's so easy to forget those things that are so elementary, but so important. And this mare has that tendency. I mean, you take a hold of her face, and for a large portion of her life, that meant something exciting was going to happen, or at least exciting to her. There was nothing done with this mare's previous training that should have caused her stress, but she chose to find it stressful. So part of my job is to take that perceived stress out of her so that she relaxes and becomes the nice horse she was born to be. So this is just her learning to be patient, because she's a very kind horse, but she is not particularly patient. Makes her kind of a nice horse to ride across country, because she loves to cover ground and go places, and she's got a lot of enthusiasm, but you don't want that to bubble over into stress. So those are some thoughts on the very simple, the very unexciting process of warming your horse up. Now you'll notice I only lope her one direction. Of course I would lope her the other direction. And after I've done that, then I'd move on to working on whatever more advanced things I had in mind. But if I couldn't get these things done, these basics done, I would sort of harken back to Carl McCulka, who had these dressage folks there, and for a full half day, he wouldn't let them do any of the cool stuff because their horses were still running off with them. And they were horribly disappointed, but they were learning what they needed to know. They just didn't know it. So those are some thoughts. It's an important part of every ride, whether you're in the parking lot getting ready to go trail riding, or whether you're out in the field here if you don't have an arena. I've got a 6-acre pasture field back here that when it's empty, I ride out there a lot. I do all of these same things out in the open that I do in my riding area. So those are the things that help me to warm a horse up. If they help you, take them. If they don't, pass on them and find something that does. But always warm your horse up. Thanks.